So there are three sections, and this schedule is the right of use assets schedule, which will be on your non-current assets side. This part is the right of use liability schedule. This will be parked on the balance sheet on non-current and current liabilities part as well. Now our real modeling work starts. If you are building financial models, IFRS 16 leases are something that you cannot ignore, because lease accounting does not just affect one line item. It changes EBITDA, depreciation, interest cost, debt like liabilities, cash flow presentation, leverage ratios, and sometimes even valuation multiples. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how IFRS 16 actually works inside a financial model. First, we'll quickly understand what is IFRS 16 and how and why operating leases now come into the balance sheet. Then we'll understand step by step lease payments, discount factors, and present value, and right of use assets, and right of use lease liabilities, depreciation, interest, and closing balance. And then finally we will connect how all of this will have an impact in a full-fledged financial model, and how does this work entirely. So if you're a finance student or an FP&A analyst or an investments analyst or someone learning practical financial modeling, this video will help you understand IFRS 16, not just from an accounting point of view, but also as a real modeling adjustment that is essentially used in corporates. Let us first focus on the critical impact of IFRS 16. Now, one of the major impact of IFRS 16 is the EBITDA impact. Prior to IFRS 16, rent expense reduced the EBITDA line item. But after IFRS 16, now the rent comes below the EBITDA line item, which increases the EBITDA. But again, the core operation doesn't change. However, the impact on EBITDA from a financial accounting point of view is this, that it increases post implementing IFRS 16. Another impact is the impact on leverage ratios. Now, since it sits on the balance sheet in the form of lease liabilities, so that's why your ratios like debt to EBITDA or net debt to EBITDA, those ratios may change. Now, one of the common practice that I have seen across in corporates is that to calculate two different ratios. So debt to EBITDA including IFRS 16 and debt to EBITDA excluding IFRS 16. Same for net debt to EBITDA including IFRS 16 and net debt to EBITDA excluding IFRS 16. Now that clearly helps the user to distinguish where the critical liabilities are. Is it in the form of IFRS 16 or is it in the form of non-IFRS 16? The third is more like a caveat, that IFRS 16 is just like an accounting presentation. As I had said in my first point, that the core operational EBITDA does not change of a firm. It's just the accounting presentation, because of which the EBITDA will be higher than what the EBITDA would have been if IFRS 16 is not implemented. This point is very critical for real estate heavy businesses, wherein the lease tenure, renewal options, and even the termination clauses can significantly impact what the lease liability would be. Just very briefly, what IFRS 16 is, the critical concept here is this, in simple plain terms. IFRS 16 changed lease accounting by bringing most leases onto the lessee's balance sheet. Lessee here is the one who leases out the asset. Now before, what was happening was, in the P&L there will be a line item known as rent expense, and then that was deducted to arrive at EBITDA. Because of IFRS 16, and if certain conditions or a test, it's a 5-condition test, if that is satisfied, then the lessee can recognize that lease as a right of use assets. And in that case, the lessee will not deduct rent expense in their P&L or income statement, but they can recognize it in the form of depreciation and interest cost on lease liabilities. And with the implementation of IFRS 16, it affects the lessee's balance sheet. Now let's look at how do we effectively model it. So there are three sections. This part is the assumptions part, and this schedule is the right of use assets schedule, which will be on your non-current assets side. And this part is the right of use liability schedule. This will be parked on the balance sheet on non-current and current liabilities part as well. Now let me explain this. So assume that these are the rental payments as per agreement for the next, let's say, 12 years. And this is the interest rate, or one can say is that incremental rate of borrowing for a firm. And the discount factors are calculated based on the tenure of the lease contract. Once the discount factors are calculated, we need to figure out what's the total present value of the lease today. Now our real modeling work starts. The ROU assets schedule is very simple one. We start with an opening balance of 0, because assuming that there were no leases beforehand, so that's the assumption here. We start with 0, and then we have add, which is additions to lease. So any new lease that is signed will be coming in the additions part. And then we have the less depreciation. Now depreciation is nothing but your total lease value, which is the sum of present value of the entire lease payments discounted to today, divided by the lease tenure. And the same value will appear until the tenure of the lease. And then you will have just the ending balance, which will just be the summation of all three. And opening balance going forward will just be the last year's ending balance, and depreciation, like I said, remains same, and ending balance as indicated earlier is just the summation of all of the three line items. One of the biggest check is that at the end of the lease tenure, the ending balance has to come 0. Now let's look at the liability part. In liability part, we again start with 0, and we will again have additions to leases, which is again the same thing that went into the ROU assets schedule. And after that, we will have to less or subtract the lease payment. Now this is nothing but the lease payment that the lessee has agreed in the lease agreement contract. And then we add back the interest component part, which is embedded in the lease payment. So if you see, this is just nothing but interest rate into the opening balance plus the additions. Now why I'm doing opening plus addition is just that in case if there is any new lease coming in, that's why. Or another reason was that if in the first year, if I keep it on the opening, then there won't be any interest payment coming in. I don't want to change the formula in the next cell, so that's why I've just kept opening plus additions. And then your ending balance is nothing but just the summation of all the parts that we discussed. And this continues, and your opening balance will be same as the previous year's ending balance, and same as ROU asset schedule. This schedule also should be 0 at the end of the lease tenure. Now that's how you model them. Let's look at what would be the impact on the financial statements. Now this part, I am just showing you how the entries will be passed in the income statement and how the entries will passed in balance sheet and cash flow. And if my balance sheet matches, then that means it fully matches. So that's what I am trying to show you here. So let's start with this. So in income statement, you will have just below your depreciation from the property, plant and equipment, you will have another line item of depreciation as ROU, which is nothing but which we created in the ROU asset schedule, and that is just linked here. You will also have in your P&L another line item known as finance cost. Some may also even say it as interest cost on lease liabilities amortization. Now that is nothing but that is the interest that you have calculated in your liability schedule. Now what is the net impact on your P&L? The net impact on your P&L is summation of both. So your P&L will, or your net income will be reduced by this much amount. Now look at the balance sheet side. Balance sheet side, your ROU assets will carry the ending value of the ROU asset schedule. Okay, this is same I have dragged here. Cash part we will look at in a minute. On the retained earnings, what you will have is the net income cumulative effect. So last year's plus this year's, and same carries on. Now let's look at current lease liability and non-current lease liability part. Think of it this way. Current lease liabilities is nothing but how much of my liability will be exhausted in the next 12 months. It has got nothing to do with the cash flow part. It is simply the exhaustion of the liabilities. So if you see here, what I have done is I have created a formula saying minimum of this year's ending liability, comma, minus of lease payment, which is 20, minus 14, which is 6. Because I know that my liability part will be reduced by the principal part only. So that's what I'm doing here. And I've dragged the same formula going forward. Non-current part is nothing but the ending balance minus ending balance of your ROU liability schedule minus the current lease liability part. And we again drag this formula. Now let's look at the cash flow statement. In your cash flow from operating activities, you will be adding back depreciation, okay, and you will also add back the finance cost impact. Remember one thing, that in the cash flow statement we are only looking at the cash impact. So you have to add back the finance cost impact because it's a non-cash impact when it comes to IFRS 16. Essentially, that interest was never paid. The cash that leaves the company is only the lease payment that you agreed in the contract. Now, cash flow from investing, no action there. In cash flow from financing, you will have the minus of lease payment. So whatever you have agreed, 19.45, 20.32, that will appear here. Now what will be your net cash impact? This is the opening cash starting with 0, and net impact will be just the cash flow from financing impact. So as I said earlier, the cash only changes by the lease payment that has been agreed. These two line items which are mentioned here, it is just from a presentation point of view. It will not impact your cash position. You will start with net income, add back the ROU depreciation and add back the finance cost impact to arrive at cash flow from operating activities. But your cash will only and only be impacted by the cash flow from financing lease payment impact. That's the only impact that will have on your cash flow. So the net cash impact will be just equal to the lease payment, and that is linked here. And then the ending cash will just be the opening plus net cash. And then the ending cash will be the opening cash plus the net cash impact. And again, the next year's opening cash will be last year's, and this carries on, and this also ending cash also carries on. Now let's come back to the cash, which earlier we decided to look at little later. So cash will be just linked here, which is just the ending cash impact here. So now if you see, when all of these adjustments are put in, if you see, the net cash impact is, or the balance sheet is tied up. So that's how effectively IFRS 16 is modeled. We can look at just one example. If you see, this is -1, this is also -1. If you look at, this is 111, this is also 111. So essentially this is the way to model IFRS 16 leases in your financial model. We can also quickly look at the condition test, which I said earlier. So there are 5 condition tests that must be satisfied for a lessee to classify a lease as an IFRS 16 lease. So first is the identified asset. There has to be a specific asset that is identified which is being used by the lessee. Second is the right to economic benefits. The customer or the lessee basically should receive substantially all or most of the economic benefits from using the asset. Right to direct the use. The lessee must have the right to decide how and what purpose the asset will be used for. And the asset must be used for a defined period of time. There has to be a tenure. Okay, it can't be that there is no tenure. And there has to be a payment in exchange for using the asset. I have summarized these 5 conditions test in a very simple manner so that I can explain you in the video. Please feel free to research online to understand how more nuances are there in this 5 condition test. And just also covering one last thing, which is an additional concept, that there is a section where IFRS 16 leases are exempted, and there are 2 such exemptions. Firstly, when it's a short-term lease. So any lease that is less than 12 months or less will not be classified as a IFRS 16, and they may be directly expensed from the P&L. Another exemption is that if it's a low value asset lease, any low value underlying assets can also be expensed instead of being capitalized. Like for instance, let's say laptop or printer, you might not classify them as IFRS 16 lease, they can straight away be expensed. So the simple way to remember IFRS 16 in a model is this. Lease payments are not just rent anymore. They are split into right of use assets, lease liability, depreciation, interest and cash flow movements. And that is why IFRS 16 can change EBITDA, leverage ratios, cash flow presentation and valuation interpretation. If you are building financial models for companies, this schedule is not optional. It is one of those practical adjustments that analysts need to understand properly. Comment below if you want me to cover the next modeling topic, and subscribe if you are learning practical financial modeling for corporate finance role. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you.